Hi everyone, this is Cooking with Kurt. Today, my husband Donald and I are going to show you how to make a caramel coffee crunch cake. This is a white cream cake filled and topped with a coffee whipped cream frosting, coffee crunch honeycomb, and drizzled with salted caramel.
This recipe was requested by a lot of you. Thanks for your request, and we hope you like this video.
We're going to start by making the coffee crunch honeycomb, but first, let 16 tablespoons of unsalted butter, which is 2 sticks, 6 large egg whites, 1 1/4 cups of whole milk, 1/3 cup of heavy cream, and 8 ounces of cream cheese come completely to room temperature. We'll be needing those ingredients at room temperature later on in the recipe. For the coffee crunch honeycomb, take an 8 by 8 inch Pyrex dish or pan and roughly line it with an oversized piece of parchment paper to make sure the honeycomb candy doesn't stick to the dish. Then in a small saucepan, add half a cup of granulated sugar, 2 tablespoons of corn syrup, and 1/4 cup of hot brewed coffee. Make sure that all the sugar is moistened with coffee, but do not stir. At this point, you can go ahead and measure out 1 teaspoon of baking soda and set it aside. Turn the heat on to high and attach a candy thermometer. You'll see that the sugar will begin to dissolve and the ingredients will start to meld together without stirring. And I repeat, do not stir. And make sure that your heat is on the highest level, otherwise the sugar won't get hot enough. We're going to keep heating this mixture till it reaches 300 degrees Fahrenheit, also called the hard crack stage, which should take about 5 to 10 minutes depending on how strong your flame is. Make sure it's on high. And have your baking soda, whisk, and parchment paper lined dish ready. The next steps are going to happen very fast. As soon as the thermometer hits 300 degrees Fahrenheit, turn off the heat, unclip the thermometer, bring your saucepan close to the parchment paper lined dish, add the 1 teaspoon of baking soda, quickly whisk the mixture for about 5 seconds. You'll see it's starting to foam up. Then pour this foaming mixture into your parchment paper lined dish. And now you can breathe. Woo! Let this cool for 1 hour, till the honeycomb hardens. Then lift it out of the dish using the parchment paper, and then break it into pieces using a knife. It's okay that you get both big and small chunks of honeycomb. Immediately store the coffee crunch honeycomb candy in an airtight container so it stays crunchy till we're ready to use it. We're only going to use the large chunks for this cake, so the smaller bits can be discarded.
Next, we're going to make the caramel drizzle. Take a small saucepan. Over medium-high heat, add in half a cup of granulated sugar and 4 teaspoons of water. Do not stir the sugar and water, but just gently swirl the pan to make sure the sugar is leveled and getting heated as evenly as possible. Bring this sugar-water mixture to a boil while carefully watching out for it to turn into a copper, light amber color. Be careful not to let it get too dark, otherwise your caramel will have a slightly bitter, burnt flavor. As soon as you see a light amber color, turn off the heat. It'll continue to darken with the residual heat. Then, while vigorously whisking, very slowly add in 1/3 cup of room temperature heavy cream and vigorously whisk it in. Be careful of the hot steam from the initial addition of the heavy cream. Adding the heavy cream very slowly will prevent the caramel from seizing up. But if the sugar does seize up into a ball, don't worry. Just keep whisking and it will melt again. Add in 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Turn the heat back onto medium-low and mix in the butter and continue to whisk for another 3 minutes. Then turn off the heat and let this cool to room temperature.
The next component we're going to make is the white cream cake. We won't be adding any egg yolks to achieve the cake's white color. Preheat your oven to 340 degrees Fahrenheit and take two 9-inch round cake pans and butter the sides and bottoms of the pans. Line the bottoms with parchment paper and butter the parchment paper as well. In a small mixing bowl, add in the 1 1/4 cups of whole milk that's been at room temperature, half a cup of vegetable oil, and 2 teaspoons of clear vanilla extract. Mix to combine and set this aside. We're using clear vanilla extract for this cake to make it as pale and white as possible, but you can also use regular vanilla extract if clear vanilla extract is not available. Take a large mixing bowl and a sieve. Add in 3 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, and half a teaspoon of salt. Sift them in and whisk them together to combine. Set this aside. In the bowl of your stand mixer, add in the 16 tablespoons of room temperature unsalted butter. With a paddle attachment, mix on medium-high speed until the butter is smooth. While continuing to mix on medium-high speed, slowly add in 1 3/4 cups of granulated sugar. Once all the sugar has been added, continue whipping on medium-high speed for 5 minutes until the mixture looks light and fluffy. Turn the speed down to medium-low and slowly add in the 6 room temperature egg whites. It's very important that the egg whites are at room temperature, and wait for the added egg white to get fully incorporated before adding more. When the egg whites are fully incorporated, continue to mix on medium-low, add in 1/3 of the dry ingredients, and mix until fully incorporated. Then add in 1/3 of the wet ingredients, and mix until fully incorporated. Continue alternating between dry and wet ingredients, 1/3 at a time, till everything has been added. Mix until just combined. Scrape down the paddle attachment and mixing bowl as needed. Divide this batter into the 2 prepared 9-inch round cake pans. Smoothen the surfaces as much as possible with your spatula. Tap the pans on the counter gently to get rid of any large air bubbles and make sure the batter is evenly distributed. If you have them, soak 2 cake strips in cold water, then add them to the cake pans. These will prevent the cake from doming during baking. We're going to bake this in our preheated oven at 340 degrees Fahrenheit for 25 to 30 minutes, or until a toothpick inserted in the center comes out clean. Let the cakes cool in the pans for 5 minutes. Then carefully invert the cakes onto metal racks. Lift off the pans. Peel off the parchment paper the cakes were baked with, and let them finish cooling to room temperature.
While we're waiting for the cakes to cool, we're going to work on the final component, which is the coffee whipped cream frosting. In the bowl of your stand mixer, add in the 8 ounces of room temperature cream cheese, 2/3 cup of granulated sugar, 2 teaspoons of clear vanilla extract, and 1/4 teaspoon of instant espresso. Using a paddle attachment, beat them together till the cream cheese has softened and the mixture is smooth, about 5 minutes on medium-high speed. Stop the mixer and scrape down the bowl for any unmixed cream cheese as needed. While beating on medium speed, slowly add in 3 2/3 cups of very cold heavy cream, and continue to beat for about 1 minute until the cream cheese and heavy cream are combined and uniform. Stop the mixer and scrape down the paddle attachment and the bowl as needed. Switch to a whisk attachment and continue beating on medium-high speed until the mixture forms very stiff peaks. It should look something like this. Leave this frosting in the fridge till you're ready to use it.
At this point, we're ready to assemble the cake. Take a cake board that's larger than 9 inches. This is a 10-inch diameter cake board, and place it on a revolving cake stand. Put the first layer of white cream cake in the center of the cake board. Then spread about half a cup of the coffee cream frosting mixture on top, creating an even and flat layer as much as possible. Scatter half of the Coffee Crunch honeycomb chunks onto the cream frosting, pressing them into the cream frosting. Then spread about 1 cup of the frosting on top of the Coffee Crunch honeycomb, filling in any gaps. Place the second layer of white cake on top. Fill in the gaps on the sides with frosting, and cover the sides of the cake with a thin layer of the coffee cream frosting, and then the same thing with the top of the cake. Use a bench scraper to smoothen out this thin crumb coat while rotating the revolving cake stand. This thin crumb coat should catch any crumbs. We're going to put this cake in the fridge for 20 minutes for the crumb coat to firm up. Also put any unused cream frosting in the fridge. When the crumb coat has hardened, apply a final layer of the white cream frosting around the sides of the cake, as well as the top. And again, use the bench scraper to smoothen out the surfaces as much as possible while rotating the revolving cake stand. Be sure to save about 1 to 2 cups of frosting to make dollops on top of the cake at the end. If you have an icing comb, you can create a pattern on the outside surface of the frosting at this point. I'm just creating a pattern around the sides of the cake. Transfer the remaining 1 to 2 cups of frosting into a piping bag fitted with a large open star tip. I'm using a number 1M. Pipe out big dollops around the circumference of the cake, about 1 inch away from the edge. I aim for about 18 dollops of frosting total. By now your caramel should have cooled to room temperature. Ladle the room temperature caramel into a small Ziploc bag or a disposable piping bag. Seal the bag. Depending on how hot or cold your ambient temperature is, the caramel may not be runny enough at room temperature. So if you find that your caramel is too solid and not a drizzly consistency, place the sealed bag of caramel in a bowl of lukewarm water, massaging the bag to get all the caramel warmed up a bit. When the caramel has softened and the consistency feels conducive to drizzling, cut a very small hole in one of the corners of the bag. Outline the top of each dollop with a thin spiral swirl of caramel. When each dollop of frosting has a spiral swirl of caramel on it, cut a slightly bigger hole on the same tip and drizzle a thicker flow of caramel right at the edge of the cake, allowing the caramel to drip down the sides of the cake. Warm caramel is very flowy, so be conservative with how much you drip, as it will continue to drip down and off your cake if you add too much. Rest this cake in the fridge until you're ready to serve. Putting it in the fridge for a minimum of 10 minutes will firm up the caramel and prevent it from over dripping. When you're ready to serve, take the cake out of the fridge and create a mound in the middle of the cake with the remaining Coffee Crunch chunks. Do not add these in advance, otherwise they will start to become soggy and lose their crunch. This cake is best served the same day, as the Coffee Crunch chunks inside the cake will get soggy and lose their crunch over time.
But will still be delicious.
Very true. Store leftovers in the fridge. And there it is, a caramel coffee crunch cake. White cake filled and topped with whipped cream frosting, Coffee Crunch honeycomb, and drizzled with salted caramel. Ang sarap!
Yum.
This is seriously my new favorite caramel cake that we've made.
Mine too. I love the subtle coffee and caramel flavors combined with the light whipped cream. So good.
Thank you so much for watching. Please let us know in the comment section below if you're planning to make this caramel coffee crunch cake. Send us pictures of your creations on Facebook and Instagram. The links are below. And if you like this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to Cooking with Kurt.
And don't forget to click on the bell so you get notified when we post new cooking videos.
Maraming salamat!